Hi there, and welcome to the Journey Cars YouTube channel. I'm Troy Badaloo, and if you haven't already, please do subscribe to the channel, give us a thumbs up, and also go and follow the Facebook page. I would really appreciate it if you could do that. Right, in this video, I'm going to be going over the top 10 tips that you should stick by when going to buy a used car. So if you're watching this, you may be a first time buyer or you've just passed your test. You could also be looking to buy a second car, so your first car might have not gone how you planned it to go, and you want to make sure that the second time around it actually goes perfectly. Right? If you're in any of those categories, these top 10 tips will really help you, and it will really save you time and money into getting the great car that you want to invest in. Top tip number 1 is checking the MOT history on the government website. This is something you can do before you even go to look at the car. So you go on the government website, and all you have to do is enter the car registration into the MOT portal, and it shows you all of the previous history on the MOT. As you can see right here, you can see all of the advisories and if it's passed or not, and these are the sort of questions that you can ask to the dealer, to your private seller, whichever you go into. And you also want to look up on the internet the recommended service intervals to make sure that this car has actually been serviced yearly and it's been treated well throughout the life of its journey. Number 2, make sure that you view the car in the light before you agree to buying the car. By doing this, you can make sure that you see any scratches or dents that may appear in the car's bodywork, because in the dark you don't see these sorts of things. You can also see how the colour looks like in the light, because you might not like exactly what it looks like in the light. Now, personally for me, when I was going to buy my first car, I was so excited. I just wanted to get the car, get home, and just get on the road. I ended up buying the car in the dark. So the next morning now, I look at the car, it's nice and light, and the car's paint was a bit faded, and the car, it did look like it was pink. So yeah, don't do the same thing. Make sure you look at the car in the light before agreeing to buy it. Tip number 3, check the car's tires. So what you want to do is make sure that there are no bulges or dings on the outside tire wall, and also make sure that the tread depth is at the recommended depth. A really good tip for checking this is bringing a 20p with you. So you bring a 20p with you, and you put the 20p in the tread depth of this tire. The depth basically has to cover the lip of the 20p. If it covers the lip of the 20p, then you're good to go. These tires will last you for a long while. If it's lower, then you're gonna have to change the tires pretty soon, and that's a additional cost. Like if you have to change one tire, normally you have to change, 2, or you could change the whole set, and the whole set can cost up to like £400, like from 150 to 400, depending on the types of tires that you go for. So make sure the tires, they are in a good condition. Tip number 4, check the boot for the spare tire and the inflation kit. So some cars, they have a spare tire. Some cars that don't have a spare tire, they have an inflation kit. So make sure the car has one of these two things. If you ever go for a car that doesn't have these things, make sure that you have breakdown cover. You always want to make sure that in case of any emergency, you're sorted. Top tip number 5. We are halfway there. Make sure the heater works on all settings. So make sure it works on full blast. Make sure it works on the coldest setting, on the hottest setting. And when you're doing these tests, make sure that you're putting your hand in front of all of the blowers. You want to be feeling the air blasting out from these blowers, because that's what they're supposed to be doing. They're meant to be heating the car up or keeping you nice and cool. Top tip number 6, electrics test. So you're inside the car now, make sure all of the electrics are working. You want to test the electric windows on all of the doors, so on the driver's door, the passenger doors. You also want to check and make sure that the electric wing mirrors are working as well. You normally have that on the driver's door, so make sure that's working. And also make sure that your car's radio is working. So every single electric thing that you see inside the car, you test it and you make sure it's working. Because you don't want to then buy the car and down the road you find out that, oh, the radio isn't working, because that would be extra money to sort out. You want to make sure it's working perfectly, and then you'll be happy with the car. Top tip number 7, does the car work in all gears? So you want to make sure the car pulls off in all of the gears. The way that you do this is you put the car into gear and you lift the clutch up slowly until you get to the bite point, and make sure that when you get to the bite point, the car actually does bite and it pulls off a little bit. And it has to do this in all gears. If it does this in all gears, then it means that you got a good gearbox and a good clutch, so you won't have to spend any extra money sorting that out. Nearly there. The top tip number 8, we then do a lights test. Turn on all of the lights and put the hazards on as well, and then do a quick look around the car. Check all of the lights, make sure that they're all working, all flashing, and you're good to go. Top tip number 9 is to make sure that you check all of the fluid levels. So we go around to popping the bonnet now, and we open the bonnet and we come to the fluid level. So you want it to look at the coolant level, make sure it's in between minimum and maximum. The color that you want to be looking for as well is a sort of pinkish color, or the other recommended color that manufacturers use. A color that you want to stay well away from is black or brown, because if it's black or brown, then that normally means that the oil has mixed in with the coolant, and that normally means that the head gasket is blown. That is a job that's very costly. You do not want to be having to deal with that with your first car, your second car, because it's just costly, and you'd rather just get the car that doesn't need any work. Another fluid level to check is the oil level. So make sure you get the dipstick out and make sure the oil is in between minimum and maximum. Another check is that you get the oil cap that's on top of the engine normally, and you look at the bottom of the oil cap and you make sure that there is no milky substance on there. You want this to be looking clear, looking like it's actually oil on there. If it looks like there's a milky substance on there, walk away from the car. That is a big sign, a big warning sign that there is something big wrong with the engine. Normally it's the head gasket that's blown, and yeah, that's another costly job, so stay well away from that. And finally, top tip number 10, the drive test. Make sure you listen out for any unusual sounds, like any clonks or dings, because that can normally mean that there's something wrong with the suspension in the car or the steering, and that's an extra job that needs to be done before getting this car into working order. So stay away from that. And also what you want to do is you want to turn the steering wheel all the way to the left and all the way to the right, and make sure that there are no weird noises. If there are weird noises, it can mean that the power steering may need to be fixed, and that is also a very costly job. So there you have it. That's the top 10 tips. Top 10 tips to live by when you're looking for a used car. If you follow these tips, guaranteed you will get yourself a car that will work for a long time, and it will serve you very nicely. So I hope you enjoyed those top 10 tips, and I hope it's been very useful. I wish you good luck for finding your next car, and if you haven't already, please do subscribe to the channel, give the video a like, and follow us on Facebook so we can make a lot more people's journeys as enjoyable as possible.